Okay. Sir, go right ahead. All righty. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 9th, 2023 Town Council meeting. Mayor Warner unfortunately cannot be here tonight, and he picked a good night to miss. Anyway, we're going to start off with a couple of public hearings, at least one. So I need a motion to open public hearing on Patapsco 9-1 LLC annexation.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on Patapsco 9-1 LLC annexation.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have 9 people registered to speak on the annexation. We'll start with Deborah Reinheimer, if I pronounced that correctly? You're not ready yet. Okay, how about Gary Chambliss? Chamberlain, sorry about that. Yes, sir. Please step to the mic and give us your name, please.
My name is Gary Chamberlain. I live at 2626 Jamer Drive. My property sits adjacent to what you want to annex. You're calling for 14 houses. I figure 3 cars per house, gonna be 42 cars. 4 kids per house, 56. Schools are being overcrowded. Want to know if you did an environmental study. You used to have pheasants there, weasels, rabbits. These people are going to have competition for the greenest lawns. There's going to be more chemicals being dumped. More chemicals going to go down into groundwater. It's going to affect my well. I'm surrounded on 4 parts by this Manchester farm. You're going to have more idiots move up here, more Democrats. They like our surroundings, but once they get here, they vote Democrat, and it ruins our county. They gerrymander, change the borders, which you know has happened. So then we lose control. Maryland is a Democratic stronghold. I don't think we'll ever get it back. I remember when it was 2 parties. But basically, I have the private lane on Jamer Drive. You had some idiots come into town, wonder why I put a gate across that drive. Because these idiots want to go from one end of Manchester Farms to the other, cut through my property so they don't have to stop at the stop signs. They don't stop at the stop signs anyway. You have no parking signs. They park. You have policemen that live in that neighborhood. They don't enforce the parking laws. You only give the roads enough width stated by law, which to me is too narrow. You say it's going to cut down on speeding. That's baloney. These people don't obey the speed limits. It's hard to get out of my lane sometimes. The other thing that I'm concerned about is these idiots come here. It's dark in the country. They have the brightest damn lights you want to see. It invades the light coming into my property. I used to be out there looking at stars and whatnot. Now it's hard as hell to look at them. I want to know what's going to happen. Jamer Drive comes in at an angle. My part of the lane comes over. It will go across to where you want to have this entrance come on this McBay or whatever it is. I want to know what's going to happen to the road in front of my house, because you're going to have number 14 house sitting at Jamer Drive. All the other houses are going to be on the right-hand side of my property. How are you going to get number 14? Come across in front of my house, dig up my road again, as they did when they did Manchester Farms. I didn't complain because they took half my lane. You guys went ahead and paved it, less I had to worry about. Your own study in here is talking about the fire apparatus coming down Jamer Drive. Yes, it's a stone lane. Those apparatuses are heavy. I remember the farm having a fire. It was wintertime. They had to call the state to come out and get their heavy equipment to move the snow to try to get down there and put the fire out. Well, they did. The fire was out before they even arrived. The thing of it is, what's going to happen? And number one thing is, have enough damn new idiots coming up here. We don't need any more. I do thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Kelly Miller?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kelly Miller, 73 East Main Street, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. I'm here tonight on behalf of the petitioner, Patapsco 91 LLC. I did also want the council to know that I have one of the property owners, Mr. Shane McQuay, with me as well tonight, because part of our presence here is just to answer any questions that you all also might have. I know that this is not your first time seeing this as you introduced it, but I don't believe that there was really much substantive discussion during that introduction, so we did want to make sure that we were all available to the extent that there are any questions. I also want to say that I appreciate Mr. Perricone jumping in on this, because I know this application was submitted under Mr. Miller, and he's really been very great to work with through this process. So, as you all are aware, this request was reviewed by the town's planning commission and introduced by this body. It then went through the county review process. So it went through the county's planning commission and then the county board of county commissioners, all of which resulted in a favorable recommendation, and the commissioners granted the zoning waiver, which was one of the conditions of this proposal here tonight. That last appearance before the Board of Commissioners was on April 20th. The request for the annexation, as you can see from the plat, kind of clearly delineated there, is for a portion of the property to be zoned R10 and a portion of the property to be zoned conservation in the town's ordinance. That conservation patch matches the existing zoning, the existing conservation zone portion in the county as it stands today. The portion that is requested to be zoned R10 is approximately 9.5037 acres of the property. If you think about R10, which is approximately 10,000 square foot lots, and then you do the math on that, you're like, whoa, okay, at least that's generally the reaction, right? Because the math on 10,000 square feet there would result in approximately 41 lots. That is not the proposal, and that's part of the reason that in discussing things with staff and then presenting before a planning commission and being introduced by this body, there was a concept plan prepared by CLSI that was submitted as well, and that was the result. Well, the result of that was the condition here of a maximum of 14 lots, because that is what is consistent with the surrounding area, and that is what is consistent with the master plan, and that is what we felt was appropriate. In addition, there are site constraints here where realistically you can just, rarely can you, but certainly not in this instance, develop to the maximum capacity anyhow. This was discussed at great length amongst the town's planning commission. And the planning commission at that time, in looking at the concept layout that was provided, made the comment that they felt that that layout was consistent with the surrounding area, and I think that says a lot. The 2018 Manchester Comprehensive Plan identifies this property with the future land use designation of medium density residential. That is defined as a maximum of two lots, or 2 units rather, per acre. So the maximum of 14 lots would still result under what the master plan had anticipated for this property. One of the other conditions of, I believe, this request here tonight is that notification to other property owners in the enclave be sent or mailed to those property owners. So that was done on February 23rd, and staff, I'm not sure if Mr. Perricone received. There are 4 other properties that are part of the existing enclave here. So it was the town's request, and has been done on other similar projects, that those other properties that are part of this enclave still in the county be notified, so that if they desired to join this process, they could communicate that will to the town, and then we would handle that appropriately. So those letters were sent to the people in the enclave as was suggested and required by the planning commission. There are 4 properties other than the subject property that are in that enclave. So all 4 of those were sent letters, like I said, on February 23rd. One of the other, I don't know if it's necessarily a condition, but statement in the annexation agreement is the agreement of the developer upon any actual development of this property to provide infrastructure for water and sewer to those other properties that remain in the county. So that way, if and when they desire to come into the town, the lines will already be there. This property is in the designated growth area and the priority funding area, which also make it appropriate for annexation. As you are aware, because you sit in this capacity a great deal, a request for annexation is really just the beginning of a process. This is not an approval of this layout. Tonight, if you approve this annexation, which is our request, you would approve it with the condition of the maximum lots at 14, but you're not approving a site plan. This would just allow anyone who desires to develop this property, the owner, to submit a site plan to your town and a subdivision plan and go through that entire review process with additional public meetings. Some of the concerns mentioned by Mr. Chamberlain were related to the adequate public facilities ordinance or, capacity with school, traffic, those sorts of concerns. All of that would have to meet the town criteria and have to go through that process. So your approval tonight is not giving a thumbs up to 14 houses coming here. It's just saying that it's a possibility and that plans can be presented and submitted to the town in accordance with all of the code requirements to that effect. So we are here, we are happy to answer any questions that anyone has specific to this proposal tonight. We would request that you approve this annexation as requested tonight with the portion of the property zoned R10 and the other portion zoned conservation. Thank you.
Now, would you be willing to answer questions from those in attendance?
Yes, we are here to answer anyone's questions who are interested, so
Well,
please,
let's-
I'm happy to jump back up
Let's
here.
start with that right now. Who has a question for Ms. Miller? Maybe we can go in turn. Yes, Mr. Chamberlain.
You say as far as the 10,000.
Wait a minute. You need a microphone, sir. We'll give you one.
I thought I always talked loud.
I can step to the side. We can trade off.
Well, tag team the microphone.
And I'm not here as hostile. What I want to know is what proposed is the lot sizes. You're saying are 10,000. What are the houses going to sit on? Half acre, quarter acre?
I'd hope that our engineer was gonna be here to answer that question, but I'm gonna try my best, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
So my understanding of the concept plan that you all have seen and that planning commission saw is that that's based on the town's clustering provision. And so that would result in lots that are consistent with several of the bordering lots, perhaps not yours, of 7,500 square feet. And then that would leave some additional open space here as well, which is part of the cluster, the kind of objective of clustering this is to provide additional open space. So that's my understanding of the concept plan that everyone has seen.
Okay, I know you're not the engineer. Is there going to be a buffer between my property and those other 13 houses? The ones that are over on McRae, which would be on the right-hand side of my property. Like there's an easement that already goes when they put the north end of Manchester Farms in. Are they going to be butted right up to my property, or is there going to be a leeway, emergency vehicles be allowed to get through that area or not?
I just want to make sure I'm orienting myself correctly. Do you have it in front of you?
Okay. Here comes Jamer.
Yes.
These are the houses that you propose. I'm surrounded by Manchester Farms, so I know Manchester Farms very well. On this end, they have a right-of-way, I'll call it a right-of-way, that buffers my property to this property. Although these idiots think my woods is their dumping site, I've been after a number of those people, and as far as the EPA, they do come out and they do get these people fined, and they have to pay for the removal. So that's what I want to know. These houses are going to come into here.
This is Jammer.
Right, so see, this is Jamer comes in here. This is whatever this road is here, and then here's your cut-through for your courtyard, or whatever you want to call it. So what I want to know is, so here you are coming here, is there going to be that same right-of-way, which is about 25 feet between these people putting up their fences and my property, so that we do have the ability for fire to come in behind these houses?
I'm gonna try to answer your question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so to the extent that there's any existing right-of-way, I
Yeah.
can't imagine that that's going to be extinguished.
Okay.
And if so, anybody who has rights to that right-of-way would have to agree to that extinguishment.
Okay, well, that's,
So-
yes, that's what
Okay.
that's
So
what
to the
happened
extent
up
that
here.
there's an existing right-of-way, anyone who has rights to that would have to agree for that to go away.
Okay.
An additional buffer, as this plan, as an actual development plan, would have to go through a site plan
That's what I
process with
figured,
the
okay.
town. That would have certain setback requirements, and that would all be part of planning commission's discussion, I'm sure, specifically, but that would have to meet the requirements of the code in regards to setbacks.
And I can verify that all 4 owners got your letter.
Thank you, I appreciate
Okay?
that.
And we did discuss it, and we all turned it down at this moment.
Thank you.
However, as you said, you will adapt to if we did decide to go. We know wells, septic systems fail. Mine right now is working great. Every time we get it pumped out, the guy says, "Anybody living here?" "Yeah,
Well, that's,
2 of us."
that's good,
So-
and that has always been the town's position
Yes,
as
I
well.
know.
Staff's
When I'm
position is,
here, that's
to
what they
make sure
say.
that we can accommodate if and when any of those houses do need to hook up,
Yes, ma'am.
at least get those lines closer to them, so
Well,
that-
thank you for
that's-
your time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
if I may, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is a long, drawn-out process. This council fortunately has a little bit of experience with it, so what we're discussing tonight, as Ms. Miller stated, was the mere annexation of property that is already within pretty much the confines of Manchester. The questions that some of you have, I think, which is what he just brought up, that comes much later, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're talking site plans right now, because the county already said, guess what? We can put 14 houses in there. The county already said that,
I
correct?
understand, but I want to look a little bit
No,
ahead.
I got that. I'm saying the county already blessed it and said you can put 14 houses in there. What we're debating or discussing tonight is, do we want those 14 houses that are going to come at some point in time to be in Carroll County, or do we want to be in Manchester where we have the control? But that is months and months away. The first step is, are we bringing it in town? Once that's accomplished, then the site plans come in, and then all your points of contention and concern, that's when they come. And there'll be many more hearings about this. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that's where we are today. We're just talking about annexing the property. But one way or another, as I understand it, Carroll County, that's Carroll County property, the commissioners already signed off on 14 houses.
Well, we have control if we took over that, like if it's part of the town property now, in the limits, would we have more control of what we do with it?
Then the county?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And along with that statement, we often talk about local control, not county control, not state control. We want local control, where we can develop setbacks. We can discuss egress, ingress, all those things come within our purview. Go ahead.
So the question was, would we have more control in Manchester of that property?
Yes.
If we annex it?
Yes, we would. We've been down this road with the Lippy property. What was the name of that other property? Patriots, yeah. We've been down that road. So you're talking to as experienced of a council as you can, even though we're not intimate with zoning in that process. We have experts that do that, but we are familiar with the process. We understand it is a grind. The Lippy property took how many years? Years to get to that point where finally it can be annexed in, and then there's the traffic study, the environmental impact. All that stuff happens. Tonight, are we going to bring this piece of property, this 9.5 acres, into town, or are we not? That's why we're here. So if that's helped clear up anything, I hope so. But it is confusing. There's no doubt about that. Mr. Kenny McQuay?
That's one of the property
Okay.
owners, so we'll.
Got it. I
go
thought you
back,
said
and
his
if there are
name
any
was-
questions for him, we're happy to answer those.
Okay, Calvin
Thank
T.
you.
I see WES from GN Drive. West K. All right, Vicky Bryan? Michael Kozlowski? Okay. And the name of Bell? Okay. Okay. So again, it is difficult to wrap your mind, yes, in the back. Okay, that's right, you're Deborah Reimer, okay. Again, it is all right, she's coming.
Good evening. Deborah Reinheimer. I live at 2627 Washington Way. My home will be directly impacted by this change because I'll be on the corner of the Briar Way going into the new section. We've been here almost 20 years with no street, no maintenance, no cares, except the beautiful property behind us. My question is, why did we not hear about any of this from the county? Why the folks who are on that little piece that are still part of the county, they got notifications. We got a sign posted on the proposed Briar Way a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever that sign was posted. And before then, there had been some surveys years before COVID, and then nothing. So we have not been kept apprised about anything. This is going to impact all of us who live along Washington Way and some who live along Southwestern, who enjoy the trees in our backyard, which are going to be taken down, who are going to have additional runoff on our properties, additional traffic, all the things that were said earlier. My question is, how long is this process going to take before we have trucks and sewers going in and homes being built and all of those things? And how do we get the county to keep us apprised of what's going on? Or is the annexation process mean that you guys get to keep us apprised of what's happening and how it's going?
First of all, I'm sorry that you have not been notified about this, but that's on the county, not us. What happens at the council level, excuse me, Kelly.
We had, by rules of the annexation, we had to advertise it 4 times in the Carroll County local paper, which was Carroll County Times,
So if you don't get the newspaper, you don't see that. That
And
doesn't
it is
help us.
online. I mean, those are the requirements that the state of Maryland says this is what you must do. So,
But
and then the additional posting we did.
to answer your second question, how will you be informed? It will be our responsibility to keep you informed as to how it's going. And it is a long, drawn-out process. I cannot begin to tell you a start date of anything, because there's a lot of negotiations that go on, and there's a lot of give and take that goes on, because depending on the roads, for instance, the Lippy property involved the town, involved the county, involved state highways. These are long, drawn-out processes. This, I wouldn't even begin to say, yeah, in 2 years you can expect to see houses built. I have no idea. But you're absolutely right. It will be the town's responsibility moving forward, because it's now town property, to keep you informed.
Okay, so how will that information trickle to us? Will it be in the Carroll County Times? Will it be in some other format? How should we as residents be looking for that information to be conveyed to us?
So it could be several ways. You can, we had it on our website, because there are certain, like I said, certain things that we had to do, the exact wording. We had to run that through our council to make sure we've hit every area. You can send an email, say, can I be put on, at this point, the planning and zoning, assuming it's annexed. You can be asked to be put on the agenda list for the town council for planning and zoning, and then you would know, when the meetings are happening and what will be discussed and so forth. We do try to get in the avenues. We have Channel 23 that we had to put it on, cable Channel 23. Again, I'm not sure who gets that, but
Yeah,
certain
I mean,
avenues we have to hit.
At this point, I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. Like, all the information has come kind of after the sign got posted, and apparently after the county already said, yeah, go ahead. We're like the last ones to know. And, yes, we may be newcomers compared to this gentleman here, but still, I've been here 20 years. And I don't ever remember feeling like I've been so disconnected from this town before. And that makes me feel very uncomfortable with how things have been handled in terms of the existing neighborhood. And for the folks who live on the section where they're still part of the county and not even part of Manchester as a town, must feel exponentially worse as they're just being sold down the river, and here you go. And you really can come to the town meeting and you could talk about it, but we're gonna go ahead and do what we want. And that's really how it feels. I'm not gonna speak for all of my neighbors, but I know we've all had conversations about how that has really felt to us as residents in Manchester Farms. And I'm sure that there are people who live within any one of the three parts of Manchester Farms who aren't directly affected by this, who are still thinking about how many cars are gonna come through, how many more kids are gonna be in the schools that are already at the brink of overfilling. Well, I moved here because the schools were great, and because it wasn't crowded, and because it was quiet, and that's going away, apparently. So, thank you.
Okay. That concludes those who have signed in. Yes. Back to the microphone, please.
I will say that you have kept me informed from day one. The planning and zoning, they do send an email. I'm old, scared to death. I remember getting my first ATM card. Okay, scared to death when I first signed on to the computer. But that's the day that we live in. You want to get communication, you have to go and sign and say, I want to be notified. So I will give you credit. You have notified me. This is not the first I have heard it. I think this is my 6th meeting. I get notification from zoning every time something comes up. Everybody is gracious. They listen to me. As I say, I don't try to be hostile. Not hostile on this. I trust you. I would say yes, go with the annexation. I trust the town having more power than the county. So I thank you for that. Okay, so with that, I would back you on that. And as you said, it is a long process. I have lived here a long time. I remember the first section of Manchester Farms going in, and it did take years to get that process going. I appreciate you listening to me tonight. And I will go through each process, and you are right, it's a give and take. People do keep me informed. That's why I have the right-of-way behind my property. I have good relationships with the neighbors. We all have the same concerns, schools, traffic, these people that don't stop at stop signs. I don't think they know what the hell it is. Oh.
I have the
there's a
same
red
problem
thing.
on Michelle Road.
They painted, I'll give you credit, you painted stop. Oh, what's that? They just blow right through it. Okay, I'm telling you, I could not tell, and I will give even though I complain, that you have the no parking and you don't enforce it. Those roads are just the minimum width, and these people, they have plenty of room in that driveway, but they park out on the street, they block the sidewalk. As you can tell, I walk with a limp. If I were to walk, I'd have to dump down into the street to get around some of these vehicles. That's not only dangerous to me, you talk about the children playing. These people have no regard. That's why I call them idiots. That's why I don't want any more idiots coming into our place. But again, I'd rather have you have control. You have my backing. I appreciate you saying that. And when Manchester Farms first went in, yes, sir, I have been in the loop. What you guys need to do is use the computer. If this old man can use it, I'm sure you youngsters can use it. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. With regard to the annexation, are there any more comments? Yes.
My name's Beth Crawford, and I am a neighbor of the Reinheimers, and so this is going to directly impact us as well. I have lived in Hampstead, Manchester area for over, 40-some years. And we moved to Hampstead. It was roll up the red carpet at 4 o'clock. It was country. It was beautiful. That's why my parents moved us out here. My husband and I, we moved in Manchester Farms almost 20 years ago. The reason we chose Manchester Farms is because of the beauty. There was still country setting. We so enjoy the field behind us that separates probably the Jamer people. 30, 40 deer run back through there. All kinds of wildlife, wonderful. That's why we chose our property, because we could look out across summer, winter, spring, or fall and see beautiful wildlife. That is all gonna be taken away. Where's that gonna go? I mean, I'm a country girl at heart. Now I appreciate the people that live on Jamer, how they must have felt when the Manchester Farms people moved in. But I think at some point, people have to look and say, are we gonna become a new city with all this, development, or are we gonna try to keep it a nice country town still? And if you guys keep approving all these developments and so forth, we're gonna end up just like all these other surrounding, like Reisterstown. Reisterstown used to be considered country. It's completely overdeveloped. Westminster, every time you turn around, there's a new development. Somebody has to stand up and say, enough is enough. Can we conserve some of our land? Everywhere I drive, I see fields and farmers selling off their property for these developments. So what are we gonna become? We're gonna become like a Baltimore City again, when we just keep developing and developing and developing and selling all our farmland? I mean, we have young children that, what are we gonna say? Future farmers of America, where are they gonna farm? What are they gonna do? We have a nice thing that we've established here. What can we do to keep it? And by jamming 14 homes, I've had people come and look at this little area and say, my God, they're gonna put 14 homes in there? I'm curious to see how that's gonna happen. It's approved for that, and I understand it. But at some point, people need to wake up and say, when are we gonna conserve some of our country and not let it go and turn into overdevelopment? And again, environmentally, I agree with Mr. Chamberlain. I mean, environmental study, I'd be curious to see what's out there, because I'm sure there's a lot out there that we probably don't even know about. The schools, I have started substitute teaching in a lot of these schools, and I can tell you right now, they're completely overwhelmed, a good part of them. Okay, they shut down North Carroll High School, closed that, merged it with Man Valley, and that was a nightmare. And so these are all things that you guys, if you got the Lippy property and all these other developments going on, you better think long and hard, because what are you gonna do then? Say, oh, we gotta build another high school because now we're overcrowded with this high school. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to
I
me.
appreciate your remarks, and we understand completely, but as I said at the outset with regard to this property, those 14 homes are going in there either with or without us. At least with us, we have some semblance of control. Now, the other thing that we're not thinking about is during the Glendenning era, if you remember Paris Glendenning, he came up with that comprehensive planning where you want to build within the confines of municipalities as opposed to eating up farmland. So this council and our staff, we deal with the town of Manchester. That property is there, it's an enclave, it's Carroll County property. Carroll County, the Board of Commissioners said, hey, 14 houses can go in there. The real fight is yet to come, and I suggest everybody save your energy for that. That's the fight coming. Whether we annex or not, if we annex, there's a big fight. If we don't annex, you can bet your bottom dollar you're getting 14 houses in there. Now, I'm not going to blow smoke and say you're still, the 14 houses are very reality even with the annex, but at least there's more control. So that's what we're here to discuss tonight. Annex or not annex? Annex, we have control. Not annex, Carroll County has control, and 14 houses are going in there under Carroll County rules and zoning. We're out of it. Any other comments or concerns about this annexation? Kelly, do we need a motion to close this public hearing to open the next one? Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing on the Patapsco 91 LLC annexation.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing on Patapsco 91 LLC annexation.
I'll second it.
And we need a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance numbers 254, 255, 256, and 257.
I'll make a motion, we open a public hearing on ordinance numbers 254, 255, 256, and 257.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Ordinance 254 is maintaining the current tax rate of .216. Discussion of ordinance number 255, increasing the water unit fee $6 from $30 to $36 per unit. Discussion of ordinance number 256, increasing the sewer unit fee $9 from $40 to $49 per unit. And discussion of ordinance number 257, amending Chapter 12, the Ethics Code. Do we have anyone who wants to speak on any of that? Yes, please step up.
Yes, I'm Barb Wingo, and I'm from 2780 Castlefield.
Mhm.
And I'm representing Castlefield, the association. And so they've asked me basically to object to the fees being imposed to our community, since we only have one meter. And we're being charged on 18 units, okay? So, the usage, I know it's not based on usage, the charge, correct? For the water?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So
the fee is the set fee that you pay to have the meter, and then you
But
pay for
isn't
usage.
it based on meters and not on usage? So we have one meter in Castlefield 1, and I can't believe in Castlefield 2 as well, if there's anybody here from Castlefield 2.
Ma'am, you get charged on gallons of usage for the entire community. That's how that's charged.
And that's how this is being distributed, this fee is
No,
being
this is not,
determined.
the rate per gallon is remaining the same
Right,
for
right,
usage.
right.
It is the unit
meter.
fee that is being increased
So when
for
you
water
say
and
unit
sewer.
fee, is that a meter? The
No,
meter?
ma'am, that's
Okay.
per hookup. So your
Per
community,
individual.
you're at the end of Hilltop, correct? So the number of homes, individual homes in your community, that is a unit charge for each one of those homes,
The connection to our services.
correct?
Okay.
Then the meter, the singular meter that the condo association pays the per gallon usage.
Okay. Yeah, well, they had asked me because we are seniors, and the fees are going up. And as you know, most of you have already heard from Castlefield and the COA that, we pay the Manchester taxes, and we don't get the same services that everyone else in the community. And we understand the history of that, but we wanted some consideration as far as the additional fees being imposed.
I understand.
Okay.
I think it's very easy to look beyond it's not easy to look beyond the fees. The water system itself has to maintain itself. It is not a profit-making entity. It is an enterprise entity where it has to pay for itself. Unfortunately, as I'll report later in my report, we are being regulated heavier and heavier by the federal government, the Environmental Protection Association. There are costs to those that are not funded. So to meet Clean Water Drinking Act, which is a federal law, which we are bound by, we have to do those things.
Right.
Unfortunately,
No, I
the
understand.
users of the water system, and this is across the country, are bearing the brunt of regulation. And the fact that we are required to maintain, so when you turn your faucet on, you have water. So that's well maintenance, searching for new wells. So while I understand where it's expensive and it may be difficult at times to pay, I have great empathy and sympathy for that. We still have to be able to provide, when you turn your faucet on at any time,
Right.
clean, drinkable, usable water for
Yeah.
you.
No, I understand that. I just want, our voices to be heard. That's it, and where we're at. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other comments with regard to these ordinances? Okay, may I have a motion to close public hearing on ordinance numbers 254, 255, 256, and 257?
I'll make a motion, we close public hearing on ordinance numbers 254, 255, 256, and 257.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That closes our public hearings. We are going to have a call to order. The official business meeting will now start. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the April 11th, 2023 minutes. I need a motion on that.
I make a motion, we approve the April 11th, 2023 minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Receipt of the April 2023 check register.
I'll make a motion that we receive the April 2023 check register.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Kelly, where is that mayor's report? Am I missing it?
It should be right in there, sir. Right in line with your long packet.
Minutes. Here we go. There's a couple under. All right, this is the mayor's report. Yard waste pickup on Wednesdays through December 13th. Yard waste consists of grass clippings, leaves, and small branches not in excess of 3 feet in length and/or 4 inches in diameter. Branches must be bundled in armful loads. Yard waste should not be mixed with mulch, dirt, or any residential refuse, including pet waste. Residents should place yard waste curbside on Tuesday evening for Wednesday pickup. All yard waste must be placed in large craft paper bags or in a container that is marked yard waste. This helps the haulers to distinguish between yard waste and trash and hopefully not miss a pickup. No plastic bags. Please help prevent wind-blown litter. Recycling bins and garbage cans that tip over and spill are a mess to clean up and detract from the beauty of our community. Also, loose trash and debris will cause storm drains to become clogged and polluted. That can't be overstated. If possible, avoid putting bins out on very windy days. If they are less than half full, consider waiting for the next pickup. Town election is Tuesday, May 16th. The polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. here at Town Hall. Qualifications of voters: you must be a citizen of the United States. You must be at least 18 years of age on or before Election Day. You must be registered. You must have resided within the corporate limits at least 30 days immediately preceding the election. Basically, if you are a registered voter in the county and a resident within incorporated town limits, you are eligible to vote in town elections. Water shutoffs, May 17th. Holiday closing, May 29th. Town office will be closed on Monday, May 29th. Any questions about that? Town administrative report.
Good evening, council, residents of Manchester. For the town administrator's report, unfortunately have to say the town did not receive funding from Community Parks and Playground Grant for FY24. Our grant we put in would have given us the needed funds to replace the Seafield lights, poles, and lights to make the athletic fields much better. We will continue to try to get funding for that. Town staff will be meeting with Antietam Broadband on Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11:30. This company will be installing fiber optic lines throughout the town. Due to the number of projects we have going on in town, we want to make sure we coordinate with that. And this appears to be a countywide effort for the county to get broadband service through fiber optics throughout the county. And we are just one of the many towns that are receiving this. Skyline Services is installing a fiber optics line for the county, starting at the intersection of Route 30 and York Street, and that is going all the way out York Street to Lineborough Volunteer Fire Department. We've asked the county and the contractor to stop in, which they did, and we're hoping that the county will fund a leg here into the town office building for us to use the fiber to better connect with the CMC center. The county is definitely moving forward now with the stormwater management project known as Manchester East. This will handle water from four different stormwater outlets. It includes stormwater from the western part of town, encompassed by Wirtz Avenue, New Street, High Street, and Maiden Lane. And the overall stormwater facility will be near the current wastewater treatment plant. Director Coons and I listened to the EPA public hearing on the proposed PFAS regulation. It was an all-day affair, and it does not appear that there will be any changes to the current proposed regulation, and we expect that to go into full force as a federal regulation January 1st, 2024. Park rentals are above normal. Many weekends have already been booked, which is good news. On items 14 and 15, there are two resolutions for the council to consider. One is to accept the county hazard mitigation plan for 2022, and the other is a resolution to support the former students and friends of Robert Moton High School. Mr. Jaden Miller has accepted the position of wastewater operator 1, and he will start on July 10th, 2023. Underneath my report, you'll see the current code violation report that was provided for you and their progress. There have been no BZA meetings of late. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on April 18th. The commission approved the Manchester portion of the county's 2023 Triennial Water and Sewer Master Plan. The commission also accepted the traffic impact analysis for the Lippy property as a requirement of annexation. There was no commitment, though, to either of the proposed outlet alternatives to Route 30 provided in the plan. The delay in accepting this was due to that the study failed to meet the requirements, and the contractor had to add the Charmel Drive and Route 30 intersections as originally proposed. That is all I have, and if you have any questions.
Real quick, I thought this Charmel Drive and Route 30 thing, that came up quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was in the original specification, and the contractor who did the study just never did
Yeah,
that.
but didn't that come up at the last council meeting that he had not done it? Has there
Correct,
been no
and it's-
progress in the last 4 weeks?
Well, he had done it and submitted the updated
Okay.
traffic study, and the commission accepted it with that in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? Public Works report.
Good evening, council and members of the community. Please see the water and wastewater data report for April 2023. Also with Public Works, our emergency standby generator services, all town standby generators have been serviced as of mid-April, and it totals 15 in all, and our town staff took care of that. Chesapeake Insurance hosted our bi-monthly safety training on April 27th, 2023. This month's topic was blood-borne pathogens. For water and wastewater, the Manchester Waterline replacement project, construction has been completed at Grafton, Oak, and Locust Street locations. Now they've moved on to Phase 2, and that's High Street, Wirtz Avenue, New Street, and Maiden Lane. And this project's expected to wrap up in September. Contractor is Mid-Atlantic Utilities. York Street Water Tower Rehab, nothing new to report on this. Baptist Water Tower standpipe replacement. The interior standpipe has been found to be badly deteriorated, and we're currently gathering costs to replace. Hydrant flushing occurred on April 25th and 26th successfully. Our town staff took care of that. Historical Center sidewalk rehabilitation, the concrete work has begun and is a work in progress. Contractor Axis Concrete. Town parks and stormwater management ponds mowing operations have begun. Our town staff takes care of this, and Myers Lawn Care. And that's all I have. Any questions? And no action items for tonight.
Rodney, one quick question for the Historical Center. If I'm remembering correctly, we have the sidewalk coming in and they were having a patch of grass put in, or a flower bed of grass. Is that true? Like, I've been driving by looking at all the work that they're doing,
Well,
what it looks like.
The center area remains. We're putting curbing back around that, and new wiring to the lights to shine on the.
Were we gonna have like a
building.
grassy area or something, or is it all gonna be sidewalked and paved?
It's not all gonna be sidewalk and paved. It's gonna be a small grassy area where we took out the ramp, which was not ADA compliant. It'll be a small grassy area on the right.
Did we think about putting in like native plants or something that we might not have to mow? Is that something that we could look into, like maintenance-wise? It would save our guys time and energy if we
Sure.
put in, you know, a butterfly garden type plants or something, black-eyed Susan, something native to Maryland that might attract butterflies and birds and things, pollinators. that we wouldn't have to maintain once we got it in and established?
Good point, I'll pass it on.
Okay, it's just something as I was driving by looking, I'm like, that would be a good place to put something like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, police report, chief.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. For the month of April, we handled 176 calls for service, which is pretty low, and that is a good thing. 20 of which we were outside of town assisting Hampstead. We only investigated one Part 1 crime that was for a burglary, which we did clear that crime with an arrest. And we only have one domestic assault, which was also cleared by arrest, and one DUI. So that's a pretty good month. Traffic enforcement continues, as Mr. Chambers pointed out. I'll be honest with you, the stop signs and the speeding, it is an issue, and it's our residents. And a lot of them are coming down through Southwestern, they're blowing by the stop signs, it's like sometimes they're not even there. We did hand out 210 citation and warnings, and we're going to continue to do it. You know, unfortunately, we're a small town, our police department's small, so it's kind of like we're constantly playing a yo-yo. We're handling a complaint on the north side, and the south side, and the east side, and the west side, and unfortunately, it's all the same people. So if we could just get the community in check, and they could help us out with the student drivers, and some of which the parents, we could get a handle on things, because it's entirely off the hook. So anyway, the speed enforcement will continue. We did get approved for a Maryland State grant. We're going to get 5 additional speed signs. So we're going to pick some areas where we're going to put them. They're going to be solar powered, so it'll be less on the batteries, because the battery changing is a nuisance. So the solar will do a little bit better for us. Overdoses, they're continuing to increase through the county. The fentanyl crisis is definitely impacting. We had 15 fatalities year to date, and that's countywide. There's been 126 overdoses countywide. For the municipalities, Manchester has had 4, 2 of which were residents. For the entire county, out of the 126, 118 of them are county residents. So the county is being hit pretty hard with the overdoses again. Hampstead had 14, Sykesville had 2, Tawnytown had 5, Mount Airy had 2, Westminster had 35, and New Windsor had 4. And we're all feeling it. I don't know what much more to say about that. That's pretty much across the United States. So positive news, the good news, I want to take the time, and it's really outside the police report. Our varsity girls lacrosse team for Manchester Valley High School are the county champs. They were completely undefeated. They never lost a game. The interesting thing is they rank 8th in the United States for a public school. They rank 3rd in the state of Maryland, Loyola and McDonough. I think Loyola was first. No, wait. St. Paul was first, McDonough was second, and then our girls. And they're first for all public schools in the state. And, of course, number 1 in the county. They're moving on to the states, I think, starting Friday. Yeah, Friday's the first game. Monday, I think, is going to be the second game. And both are home. So if you can get out and watch them play, they're a pretty good team. They're worth watching. That's about it.
It's like having Trent back.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have anybody. It was a pretty big
No, I
deal.
appreciate it. It
Guess who's got
reminded
a
me
new
of Trent.
job?
We actually had 2, I apologize for missing their names, and if anybody knows them, chime in. We had 2 girls on a team, one of which got 200 goals.
It's Emma Penchik.
Who is it?
Emma
Casey
Penchik.
Meredith, she had 200
Yes.
points.
200
She's a sophomore,
points.
Yeah.
And she's a sophomore.
She's ranked very highly across the country.
Yeah, I think she's like number 2 in the
Yeah,
country.
her class.
She's
yeah.
fun to watch.
You going to Maryland?
And one senior did have 100
Syracuse.
goals. Casey Meredith got 100 goals.
Casey Meredith
Yeah.
got 100 goals, that's right.
Emma's got 200 points, which is amazing.
Yep, so that's pretty good news. That's it.
Any other questions for the chief on police work or high school sports? All right, we will move on. Discussion of Patapsco 9-1 LLC annexation. That's our discussion, and then we will vote on that annexation. Does anybody have any comments regarding this? All right, then I will take a motion for or against.
go for it.
I'll make a motion, we accept the annexation of Patapsco 91 LLC.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any nays? No? All right, it has been accepted. It is approved. Move on to the easy stuff. Ordinance 254, maintaining the current tax rate of .216.
I'll make a motion, we accept ordinance number 254, maintaining the current tax rate of .216.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. It is passed. Discussion of ordinance number 255, increasing the water unit fee $6 from $30 to $36.
I'll make a motion that we accept ordinance 255, increasing the water unit fee $6 from $30 to $36 per unit.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 There are nobody opposed, so that is passed. Discussion of ordinance number 256, increasing the sewer unit fee from $40 to $49 per unit.
I'll make a motion, we accept ordinance number 256, increasing the sewer unit fee $9 from $40 to $49 per unit.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. That is also passed. Our discussion of ordinance number 257, amending Chapter 12 Ethics Code. Who can review that real quick for us and them?
Several years, as you all probably know. Several years ago, as you all probably remember, the state General Assembly passed a law that basically says that in certain respects, mostly conflicts of interest, financial disclosures, things like that, local government must adopt local ethics laws and ordinances that are at least as stringent or equivalent to what the state requires. And in certain other respects, lobbying must adopt provisions that are substantially similar, quote unquote, to state provisions. Since that law was initially adopted several years ago, the State Ethics Commission adopted model codes for local jurisdictions, local government to adopt, basically. And over a period of time, they have tweaked that and added stuff basically to it. And they've done that through a couple of rounds since then. Most recently, with respect to certain of the changes that you see in the ordinance here, clearly they were hung up on the acceptance of gifts from entities like MACO or MML. They also added some other matters. Let me just pull up my screen here. They wanted to add essentially quasi-governmental entity to governmental entities in terms of definitions to essentially broaden the reach of certain provisions of the ethics code. They wanted to prohibit disclosure of confidential information by former officials and employees that you might have gained access to through your service. Prohibit retaliation against individuals for reporting ethics violations or participating in ethics investigations, as well as prohibit disclosure of amount of consideration received from UMMS, state, local government entities, and quasi-governmental entities. One may recall a certain former mayor of a big city who sold some books, allegedly. So that's what this is about, allegedly. And also about disclosure of names of business trades as or does business under, essentially with respect to broadening the financial disclosure requirements on the parts of the public officials, elected officials, and candidates. And the disclosure of gifts, as I said before, from associations engaged in only representing counties or municipal corporations. So those are the main reasons for the changes along the way. In my review of our ordinance, I also compared it to the model code and updated it, sort of backfilled, if you will, for instance, on the lobbying, which we did not have a provision on, in order to bring us completely up to date and compliant with the state model codes.
All right, any questions? All right, can I have a motion on ordinance 257?
I'll make a motion we accept the amendments to ordinance number 257, or the amendments to chapter 12 of the Ethics Code for ordinance number 257.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, this has also passed. Okay, resolution number 01-2023, adopting the Carroll County Hazard Mitigation Plan of 2022.
Sir, the Carroll County Department of Emergency Management, in conjunction with the Maryland Department of Emergency Management and FEMA, updated the Carroll Hazard Mitigation Plan, recommending that the town adopt this so we can be part of any kind of FEMA reimbursement if we get into any kind of disaster situation. It is required that we adopt this if we wish to be eligible for any FEMA reimbursement for different disasters or other storms or other declarations.
Any questions about this? No. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve, the resolution number, 01-2023, adopting the Carroll County Hazard Mitigation Plan of 2022.
I'll second it.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, that also passes.
Resolution number 02-2023 is a resolution to support the former students and friends of Robert Moton High School Incorporated. This goes to the Board of County Commissioners to encourage them to allocate a portion of the former Robert Moton High School space for a Museum of African American History in Carroll County. This evening, we have folks here from that association. Mr. Hudson, would you like to come up and say a few words to the council, please?
Good evening, and thank you for allotting us some time to be with you this evening. The resolution as it is written, several of us have perused it, and we're in agreement with it, and we want to thank you for the wording. Some of you were with us when we met with the Municipality League in Tonytown. In fact, we had dinner together.
We did. It was a break because they didn't eat off my plate, unlike when I'm at home and I have people eating off my plate. So thank you for that.
Some of you may not know anything about Robert Moton High School, or former Robert Moton High School in Westminster. It was a school that we as African Americans could attend. It was the only school we could attend in Carroll County, regardless of whether we lived on the south side, the north side, the west side, or the east side. We would go to an elementary school in our prospective communities. Probably at grade 6, we all had to come to Westminster in order to receive a high school education. And some of us traveled at least 27 miles one way. And since the school closed in 1956, it has become a county building with county agencies in it right now. We asked the commissioner some 8 years ago to provide space in the building to grant us that we can organize a museum of Black history in Carroll County. I would say in the last 3 months, we've had more activity than we've had in the past 8 years. And so that's why we appreciate the resolution that you have put forth for consideration. And we would ask not only the town council, but the residents of Tonytown, I'm sorry, not Town, Manchester, to support us in our endeavor. In today's world, history is becoming a thing of the past. And in order for any of us to improve our lives, we've got to go back and see what history was about so we can improve upon it. And that's why it's so vital and important for us to be able to establish this museum here in Carroll County. And it would be beneficial to all of us, all the residents in Carroll County. So we want to thank you for the time, and we appreciate your positive response.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry, 65. It's been a long day.
It has.
Any discussion
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
with the council? I'm sorry.
If there's any questions, I may ask, I guess.
Any questions or any further discussion? Okay, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept resolution number 02-2023, support the request of the former students and friends of Robert Moden High School Incorporated to the Board of County Commissioners of Carroll County to allocate a portion of the former Robert Moden High School as space for a museum of African American history in Carroll County.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? No? Okay, that measure passed. Thank you. All right, any comments or questions from the community on other matters? No? Okay. Committee reports, planning and zoning.
Thank you. Yeah, I attended the April 18th Plan and Zoning meeting. Nothing additional to report other than what our town administrator reported earlier. On April 27th, I was able to attend the second of 2 open houses in Westminster for the Carroll County Economic Development and Land Use Study that was commissioned last September. And it was a good opportunity to take a look at what the future of economic development across Carroll County was going to look like and provide some insight. So,
Community improvement projects, educational outreach.
So we are well underway for our Banner City application, which is due at the end of the month. I want to say the 22nd, but don't quote me on that, but it will be in time. I'm waiting on one piece of information from the mayor in regards to the name of the teacher in the classroom that he visited for part of our application. So we are in good shape to get Banner City. Also, the next quarterly meeting for MML will be held at Mount Airy. It will be the last joint Carroll County, Frederick County meeting that they're going to have at March was our last one. At the March meeting, the decision was made that Mount Airy would join the Carroll County rotations like we do. So then instead of them hosting every June like they have historically for at least 8 years, they would get into the rotation because with Frederick County being so large and Carroll County, it just got to be a lot to find a location that would work. So that is coming up, I believe, on June 15th, the third Thursday of June. I will not be able to attend, so if there's someone else that could go, the third Thursday, there's someone else that will be able to go. It's at the Links, I believe. That will keep us on track for Banner City for next year. All right, thank you.
North Carroll Business Alliance and Sustainability Task Force, that's mine. I have nothing to report. Parks and Recreation?
I just have one event that's going to take place. It's the plant swap at the Nature Center on May 21st. You can drop off your plants from 11 to 1, and then you can, the plant swap will actually take place on 1 to 3. And it is very successful and a lot of plants if you're interested. Usually even if you don't have a plant to swap, you can pay them $1 or $2 and take some. So it's May 21st. That's all I have.
Okay, that concludes our meeting. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Yes, sir, I just have one item for the residents. On Thursday, May 11th, beginning at 8 p.m., BG&E will be replacing a pole at the corner of Maiden Lane and Westminster Street. Maiden Lane will be closed until approximately 2 a.m.
Anything else? Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a little late on this, but
You need to go to the meet.
To the microphone, please.
I'm sorry.
Take your time.
the trash pickup, the bulk trash pickup, is Castle Field 1 and 2 included in that?
Not that I'm aware of. I think you would have to call and make arrangements.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, the meeting is over. Good night, everyone.